Before I came on, I was looking at my Twitter. Lloyd Legalist, at Lloyd Legalist, had a tweet that was just killing me. It was slaying me. People say I'm condescending. And then in parentheticals, it says, that means I talk down to people. I was rolling laughing. Oh my goodness. I love that us Christians, us on the Fight Laugh Feast Network, members and content producers, can fight, laugh, and feast all at the same time for the glory of God. I'm just having the time of my life. I'm in some of the most ferocious debates with people. That might be an overstatement. But at the same time, I'm just totally blessed in love and life. And God wins. And just resting in that and his promises is a beautiful thing. Amen. Amen. Welcome to HTBT. My name is Matt Williams. Thank you for fighting along with us, listening to the show, sharing the show, tagging a friend, sending it all around the world. I have a strong listenership in Australia. Welcome, mates. That's what you call you guys, right? Or I'll just say brothers and sisters. Welcome. I really appreciate you guys. I appreciate everywhere. I was looking at Reformegelical's data, and there are countries that have listened to our show in Africa that I've never even heard of before. What amazing technology that we have today, that we can talk about the goodness of the Lord in business, in politics, in our culture, in church, in our lives, and in our marriages. We can talk about these things, and people around the world in countries we've never even heard of, or I've never heard of. I shouldn't speak for the rest of the crew. They may be more knowledgeable about geography than I ever was, but it's absolutely amazing what God can do with technology. I mean, what God can do, period, but specifically with technology in this case. We are part of the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Go over to fightlaughfeast.com, put in HTBT in the memo field. You'll get this 15-ounce mug. It kind of looks small right now. I have a really big head, so the mug looks small compared to my big head. But let me tell you, it's a 15-ounce mug. You get this no matter what tier you subscribe to, just coming along, fighting with us, supporting us, helping us combat the crap, the junk that is permeating our churches, our organizations, and all of that good stuff. So go over to fightlaughfeast.com, put in HTBT in the memo field. You'll get that mug, tons of other benefits, and most of all, helping us as we proclaim the Lordship of Jesus in every area of life. I was watching and kind of more listening than watching, but it was on YouTube and in the background. And I was listening to the Washington Post live stream, the hearing that happened a couple days ago for the impeachment inquiry. And well, first of all, let me tell you, the Washington Post is the most laughable commentators I've ever seen that is trying to be objective. They not only, I mean, they're just hacks. Let's just be honest. The Washington Post, the WAPO, it is embarrassing. And just especially when it's not like TV commentators, but it's like the B squad. They do a terrible job. I mean, the people on TV do a terrible job, but specifically the people on WAPO that I was listening to during the breaks, during the recesses, man, they are just shameless. And it oozes out of them their hate for anything besides their progressive agenda. Be warned, Christian progressives, they're coming for you. After they take us conservatives out, they're going to come for you too. So beware of that. But what I was looking at, and which was very interesting, is the lawyers that they had on the panel as well. I mean, I don't know if it's technically called the panel, but where the senators sit, the committee sits usually, and they look down at their witnesses. I was watching the lawyers, and this is something you need to take note of as a business person who's ever going to deal with lawyers. If you're ever in, a mitigation or what's the other one? Arbitration. I always forget that one. Or in an actual court case, and you're talking with a lawyer, you're being deposed, is you need to remember that lawyers are not your friend. And specifically your opponent's lawyer, but also your own. And I'll start with our own, and then I'll get to our opponents and why this matters and why you really need to remember this. Is oftentimes we will be told by our lawyers things that we disagree with. Specifically, being an entrepreneur, I'm a risk taker by definition. I am taking risks. I'm making calculations. I'm not going to be, crazy and reckless, but I'm going to take a more risky position than your average lawyer, because lawyers, their sole job is to mitigate risk. They are to advise you and keep you out of trouble. So there is a healthy tension that exists between you and your lawyers or lawyer, depending on how many you got. And you need to remember this because you want that tension. It is a healthy tension, and it's going to help you, guide you, navigate you through, like what we've talked about before, the gray areas of business, the gray areas of the law that are unclear. Not that you're breaking the law, not that you are purposely going and doing wrong things, because obviously our morality and ethics, we answer to God. But just by the definitions of what you can and can't do by the state, county, country, something like, I do consulting for real estate, and just going through and navigating all the electronic recording, laws by the state and to the county. It's a mess. And there's tons of messes like that throughout all of business. And so you need to remember that your attorneys are not your friend. They're your advisors. And they're going to tell you things that you don't like. They're going to tell you things that you don't want to hear, but you need to heed them and respect them and not shun them away. You want the faithful wounds of not your friends, of your advisors, but yeah, your friends too. But specifically in this case with lawyers, you want them to tell you when you're wrong, when you need to change it, when you need to pivot, what you need to look out for, and all those things. They're not just going to tell you everything you want to hear, and that's a good thing. The next thing you need to remember, and this is what made me want to talk about it from listening to this deposition, is lawyers have a tactic. And you got to be careful with this. And this is also a good negotiating tactic that negotiators will try to work with you on, or work you on, is they try to be your friend. They try to sound, lovable, cuddleable, little teddy bears. They don't want to look like the hunter that they are. And they're killers. They are being paid to take advantage of you, to expose you, and to leave you with nothing. Your freedom, whatever it is. If it's a criminal case, if it's a financial case, if it's a lawsuit, whatever it is, the opposing side is never your friend. And what they try to do is to be really nice. They try to be personable. Maybe they'll throw out a smile, a joke, like, hey, we're buds, right? And they'll fist bump you. Maybe they won't fist bump you. But they're going to use this as a tactic. It's very purposeful. The better the lawyers, the more unnoticeable it is, the more undetectable it is. It'll just seem like it's part of their personality. We're casual. Let's lean back. Do you need a drink? Do you know? Can I light your cigarette? But they're coming for you, and they're trying to lay a trap. So you need to understand they're not your friends. The opposing counsel is trying to trap you. They're trying to find and expose your weaknesses. They're trying to get you to admit something, to give up something, to make their side look better, to make their case stronger. And so you need to remember that. I saw that a lot in this hearing from the Republican side, which, let me just say this too, a little pat on the back for Devin Nunes. He is probably the best politician that has come out of the California state since Ronald Reagan. He is amazing. If you've been following the work he's been doing, he is somebody that if you have time, if you're one of those people that like writing your representatives or other people's representatives in this case, because you probably don't live in California, he would be the guy to just say, hey, good job. Thank you for fighting for our freedom. Man, he is just a knowledgeable, capable guy, and it's really great to see him. But what I was saying is I was watching his attorney or the counsel on and sitting next to him that I think was his attorney or the one he had come. I don't know how that exactly works out, but you could just see it. He was playing sly. He was trying to get that lieutenant colonel, what was his name? Vinman? He was trying to get that lieutenant colonel to be his buddy. And if you go back and you watch it, you can see it. He was like, what we're talking about. We had a good time at dinner. And, I think you said something to this effect. And he was kind of trying to give him grace, but it wasn't grace. He wasn't trying to give him leniency. He was giving him rope to hang himself because they know he's the leaker, or they know that he knows the leaker, I should say. And if you watch that deposition like I did, you'll see they know exactly who it is. They know exactly what information that lieutenant colonel gave and who he talked to. And it's just very, very interesting to watch that. So be weary of that. And you need to be educated. You need to learn these things. And hey, a great place to learn and to become more educated about things of business and negotiation and communication is our sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare has thousands and thousands of videos that can help you from graphic design, photography, speech, entrepreneurship, Excel, practical, soft skills, hard skills. It's a great alternative than to spending, your whole future on a college education. If you don't want to go down that route, or you have gone down that route and you want to do some refresher courses or take some other courses and learn a different subject, then you should check out Skillshare. They have, again, on-demand courses. They have groups that you can come and talk and work through projects together. It's really exciting. I love it. They have this great offer for you, 2 months for free when you go to Skillshare.com/HTBT. When you go there, you'll be joining millions of students who have already been learning on this Skillshare, and you'll get 2 months for free. So go over to Skillshare.com/HTBT. Help support us by supporting our sponsor, who is choosing to be on the show and choosing to help support us and to continue allowing us to podcast. And again, you get 2 months for free. You just cannot beat that. Go over to Skillshare.com/HTBT. All right, so a few episodes ago, I talked about Chick-fil-A and how it looks like they are pivoting from supporting anti-LGBT organizations, and they're going to be more structured to education and things like that. And then a day came out where it looks like, well, that's not exactly what they're doing. And we talked about that. Their commitments expired. They went on longer than they should have. And I just want to say this really quick. It doesn't matter. Like, what is the result? What is happening? And we talked about this on Reformgelical. If you haven't checked that show out, you should go over. AD is just fantastic co-host. I love doing these shows with him. We talk about such interesting things. But it doesn't matter, because we're in a battle. We're in a spiritual war. And when our enemy fires a shot, misrepresents us, or gets us to back down, it's time for us to step up and double down and go back and fight. So we talk about that a lot, but I just want to say it because I said on the show, and I was taking the hard position like they're backing off. I wore a white shirt saying they would surrender, and it came out that maybe they didn't, but I'm just telling you, the end result is the same, is they are being looked at like they're backing down and caving to the LGBTQ community. And as Christians, we need to fight. We're never going to win the war on defense. We have to win the war taking the attack to them, taking the attack to the culture. And a lot of that is just proclaiming the gospel and standing up for truth and to be engaging our culture. I'm not talking about like physical violence or anything like that. Speaking of physical violence, though, and this is important for us from a investor perspective, is Hong Kong's getting really crazy. I just saw a Twitter post the other day where it looks like the Chinese police that come into Hong Kong to try to quash this rebellion got caught setting on fire the Epoch Times publication, their newsprint area, where they have been like just covering this whole thing from a fair perspective. They haven't been bending it to the Communist Party. And it's just getting crazy. There's been violence. There's been burnings. It's starting to get out of hand. And the Chinese are starting to, ramp up and cause this conflict to happen, increase more and more. And the problem with this is that these people should be free. But from an American investor perspective, is Trump is tying this to the trade deal. And I'm not even saying that's wrong. I'm not saying he shouldn't do this, because he really has only this as his option. He's not going to go, and we're not going to have a physical war with China. And that's just about it. So he's using this to try to get them to let Hong Kong be free and to resolve this without being physically violent. And as I'm recording this, it looks like the Chinese are still going to continue to do these things. So it's a really peculiar situation, or precarious. That's the word I was looking for. Precarious situation, because our portfolios can be impacted. Even though our economy is doing really well, even with not having a trade deal right now, and we could be passing the USMCA, which is our trade deal with Canada and Mexico, that would really help us. that it like enhances the treaties, the trade deals that we already have. But also, China can be in a world of hurt too, because they are continuing to be impacted far more than we are from this trade deal. And if they crack down, like we talked about before, they're going to kill the golden egg that is Hong Kong, and their economy will probably even shrink, or come close to not growing at all, which is a big deal for China. Like 6% growth is devastating for China because they're such an emerging market. They have so many people. And all of those reasons, like 6% growth for the United States, who's already matured, would be astronomical, right? But for 6% for China is not good at all. And so that can impact our portfolio. So be careful. I'm still a little damaged from the stock market in December last year and how bad that tanked. Oh my goodness. I feel like I had 2 hard attacks at least before Christmas. And I'm just waiting for something like that to happen again. But on the good note, I mean, we have been doing pretty well in our portfolios lately, right? Haven't you seen the stock market? It's been pretty great. I love it. But just be aware of that, because Trump is using the trade deal to leverage. The stock market responds to the good news, and it kind of, reacts to the negative news as well. So be careful of that. And the last thing I wanted to talk about, and this is a conservative argument that I just want to show you. And it's interesting because, Ford came out with their Mustang Mach-E. They named an SUV a Mustang, which is retarded. I don't know why they would do that. That's very silly. But they're trying to, use the name Mustang to get sales. But there was this great article I was reading, and they talked about cars like this and other big manufacturers, GMC and all these. They have compliance cars. And what compliance cars are cars that they don't really intend to make a profit on. They don't really intend to sell a lot of them. But because the government has created this law where the whole portfolio of products, that is all the cars that they have that they're selling at one time, has to be under a certain aggregate amount of miles per gallon. And when a Ford has trucks and SUVs, which is their moneymaker, and I'm not even ashamed about it. I paid for my F-150, even though I know that that's where they make their premiums. But I love the truck. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. But they have these electric cars. They have these hybrid cars, not because they're making money off of them, not because they're profitable, not because there's a demand for them, like all the free market indicators of why you would make a product. But it's a loophole. It's a way to get around the compliance of the laws that legislators passed. And I bring that up to say this. Is laws always have unintended consequences. And oftentimes the private sector will innovate and create ways to get around those laws that our legislators don't foresee or don't plan on or don't put into laws. I mean, if all you have to do is look at someone like Adam Schiff and realize he's part of the lawmaking crew, to think like, maybe we shouldn't have these people writing laws anymore. Maybe we should just have the minimal laws to create a competitive environment and let the private market do most of the work. And this is just one example of it, compliance cars. The free market will always find ways to innovate around the regulatory environment and the laws. And I've talked about this when we were talking about lessons learned from Silicon Valley. They're great at this. Uber, Lyft, Airbnb. These are all companies that have gotten around the taxi laws and the hotel laws and all that stuff, where the lobbyists from the taxis, from the hotels, had to fight back as well. So there you go. Let's go out and be successful. We'll talk to you tomorrow. God bless.